Hello, my name is Olesja, and I'm experienced designer at Accenture Metaverse Continuum Business Group. I'm very excited to be talking here to you today. We're going to talk about my favorite topics: immersive technology, the future of user experience, and the metaverse. We'll have a look at different use cases and projects around the world to help us explain better what we mean by the metaverse. But let's go back to the official definition of the metaverse, if there is one. At Accenture, we define the metaverse as the evolution of internet. It enables a user to move beyond browsing to inhabiting in a persistent, shared experience that spans the spectrum of our real world to entirely virtual, and everything in between.
In a virtual world, we participate as a 3D avatar. The digital representation of you, your identity, and embodiment of your unique style in the metaverse. Of course, it's a form of self-expression, which calls for distinctive meta wardrobe, at times even eccentric accessories, and possibly even digital makeup. As we have seen in the gaming industry, users are conscious how they look online in a virtual social gathering and interaction. This is because an avatar can convey status, achievements, and signify belonging to a specific group. An avatar is an opportunity to wear luxury and couture fashion which may be inaccessible in real life or maybe even totally opposite of your real style. User can create a virtual, otherworldly persona to inhabit a digital space.
Welcome in the real world as well. My name is Olesja, as you just heard, and there's a reason why I wanted to show you this video in the beginning. The first part looks like a typical Teams or Zoom call like we're having every single day. Now, the second part was a little bit more interesting. I was an avatar and I was walking around a surrealistic art gallery we have, and it features amazing digital fashion. It has 3 floors. It's a magical experience. Now, imagine if every one of you here in the room would be wearing a VR headset right now, and I would take you to a tour to walk around and explore this virtual magical place. And then we would go and visit a digital twin of our innovation hub in Helsinki and New York, and I would show you demos. And this is the power of virtual reality. You can participate in a virtual space regardless where you are. Or, in fact, even if you would still be here sitting in this room, let's say you're not wearing VR headset, but you're wearing smart glasses that are quite not so heavy, quite light, but you're able still to see this world, but you would have other things augmented into the, for example, into the stage, and I would bring up here, 3D assets and demos. That would be a really interesting experience too. So these are the types of things we're talking about when we're saying collaborative experiences in the metaverse. So today, like I said, we're going to be talking about my totally favorite topics. It's the metaverse. It's, of course, we need to demystify a few things, right? I'm going to make sure that everybody in this room understands after this talk what the metaverse is. And then we're going to understand what are the benefits and use cases of immersive technologies. And then we're going to combine this information with some trends that are happening in the world right now in our work environments and understand together what does immersive technology bring to our work. So I'm very passionate about metaverse, immersive technologies, and I hope that by the end of this session, you're going to be at least partially or at least partly as excited as I am about these emerging or new technologies. So let's start. We heard the definition, right? So metaverse is the future of internet. It's the evolution or next version of the internet. And in the 90s, we had Internet of Data, where you would be able to write something and others would read. And then 2000s came, we got Internet of People, where we basically connected with each other in social media, and there's lots of bloggers, so you're able to contribute to the internet as well. Then in the 2010s, we moved to the era of Internet of Things when we suddenly decided that we want to connect our phone, our fridge, our car, factory machinery, or you name it, Internet of Things, right? And now we're getting 2 new dimensions, Internet of Place and Internet of Ownership. Internet of Place is really easy to understand. It's a place you go to. It's a virtual world, it's 3D dimensional, and sorry, some of my examples are going to be from retail and fashion industry because that's the majority of things that I work with, but we're also going to touch down about industrial metaverse and consumer metaverse and other things. But let's talk about Internet of Place. So it's a destination you go to, and what do you want to do there? You want to visit, explore, play, learn, talk with other people, engage, and you can have virtual places that can be basically anything, right? You can have a stadium, a shop, you name it. But then, Internet of Ownership. So basically, what can you do in the metaverse? You can own things, you create things. There you can see, for example, here on this image, we have a digital garment created, right? Let's say you're a fashion designer, you created a garment, you can sell it, somebody's avatar can wear it. You can trade. We can have all sorts of in-game assets, and we can build loyalty programs based on this. The more active you are in the metaverse, the more points you go, or tokens you get back in return. And that's going to provide you some more interesting utility and the benefits you can get either in the real world or in the metaverse. And yeah, basically, if we're talking about decentralized metaverse built on blockchain, it can become a whole entire like crypto economy. And we know right now it's important to understand it's okay, there is no one specific definition what a metaverse is. We are in the process of developing and designing and building it, right? For example, in the beginning of the 90s, nobody knew that we're going to get the Netflix and Uber and all sorts of social media channels. So this is exactly kind of like where we are now. We don't know what kind of things or applications there will be in the metaverse in the future. But we know different attributes and elements of the metaverse, kind of trying to define what are the typical things. And it's usually we say that it's a virtual place, right? We already touched upon that. Crypto economy, yes, you can exchange different goods or even trade money or whatever, but there's something that you can prove ownership with. But what's really important aspect for the metaverse is the community, right? So we have lots of people, multi-user experience, real time, being in the same place at the same time, the third place in addition to work and home. And then comes the next point, identity. So you need to identify yourself in the metaverse, and you're usually present as an avatar, right? And you would choose what are your specific looks and how you wear. But basically, this is coming from the gaming industry. Your avatar is going to tell everybody else, the users in the same environment with you, something maybe about your style, maybe about your status, who you are, whatever information you wish to share. So there's lots of myths around the metaverse. And we're going to try to address some of these in this talk. And the most kind of like common we usually hear is that metaverse is just virtual reality or metaverse is a computer game. Wrong. Virtual reality is actually only one of the technologies that is going to be kind of like key enablers and capabilities we need to build this vision of metaverse. We say that metaverse is the internet, right? VR is something that is going to help you look at objects in 3D. So metaverse is not virtual reality. And we need all sorts of other technologies like digital twins, we need blockchain, we need AI. The power is going to be how we combine them to build interesting applications. Myth number 2. You hear people say something like, but we have all those metaverses already. I don't even know where to begin with this one. First, the plural, the S on the end, metaverses. Have you ever heard anybody say the internets? Gotcha. Okay, metaverses. But what we do have are different platforms that are similar to what a metaverse could be now. So we have, you probably all heard about Roblox and Decentraland and Fortnite and Sandbox. Have you heard? Are you playing in any of these? Can I see some hands? Okay, great. So I wanted to bring these platforms because okay, when we look at who is there in the virtual space at the moment right now, there is very young demographic, right? So in Roblox, we have 9 to 15 usually year-olds. In other platforms there you see we have around 25, 27 average age. But look at the numbers. We're talking millions of users. Roblox is used amongst youngsters to send messages, and really, 2.5 billion messages were sent in 2021. This is their communication channel. So when we say we're designing the future of Metaverse, we're basically going to be building digital services for these youngsters in the future, for us as well, of course. But what I'm trying to say is that this generation has a totally different understanding and accustomed to what is a good digital service or what a digital interaction could be like. And then we also have other different platforms popping up. You have heard already about different enterprise metaverses. In plural? No, metaverse platforms. So for example, Microsoft Mesh, Metaverse is coming to our teams. We're going to be able soon to participate in calls through avatars, later have virtual meeting rooms. Or then things like, for example, NVIDIA Omniverse, which is going to be a platform that's going to enable collaboration in real time to build and design, for example, digital twins. There's lots of different features and things you can do in NVIDIA. So just wanted to kind of highlight consumer gaming versus enterprise platforms. And then myth number 3, you would hear somebody saying that, well, I would like one metaverse, please. Take us to the metaverse right now. Well, hello, there is no one optimal example what a metaverse solution or metaverse experience can be like. Let's have a look what's out there for fashion and consumer industry. These are all kind of examples of metaverse experiences, but they're all very, very different. So let's start from the top. A luxury company is launching a game that has in-game tokens that you need to collect, and they're going to give you some sort of a benefit afterwards. What's cool about this? Okay, games are fun, but think about it in terms of marketing. Kids do not watch TV at all. Is this, or younger generation, is this the right channel to reach them? Think about brand exposure if the game is designed well and somebody is playing it for a long time. Think about the length of the brand exposure you can reach through gaming experience. Then we have another application, a virtual model, a model that doesn't exist. Synthetic being, attending a red carpet event in augmented reality, wearing digital garment. Then we have Dior Beauty pop-up store. This is something that's gaining popularity. Pop-up stores as advertising campaigns, right? You create an immersive website where you give an opportunity to your customers to discover different new products. Then the last here, actually the whole row, different concerts in the metaverse. I always talk about this example. How many people come to Brazil when the Rio de Janeiro festival happens? Do you know? Does anybody know in this room? Pre-pandemic. No? No brave people who want to guess? Okay, I'll give you the answer. It's 8 million people. And out of those 8 million people, they come as tourists. They're never in the same place in the same time. When you launch a metaverse concert, for example, on a platform like there was a concert in Fortnite, Travis Scott, right? 12.5 million people watching live in the same virtual space and time. On replay, 42 million people. Think about scalability of these kind of experiences. Then we have another example of a synthetic being. We had Miley Cyrus' avatar in Gucci's Roblox store. So opportunity to meet people that you would not necessarily meet in real life. I don't have an opportunity to meet, for example, Winston Churchill or Hollywood stars on a red carpet. If you have an experience with digital synthetic being and powered by AI chatbot, how cool would it be to interact? Here may be the story of cinematography from old golden Hollywood era, I don't know. Or maybe travel to the future in time and talk to our next world leaders, right? Prime Minister from 2074. How cool would that be? And then one last comment here, Dolce & Gabbana NFT collection. So they set a record by selling NFTs with clothes that don't exist, but they were kind of like more still imagery. And that's a collectible, right? That's a use case, sort of like fandom. People who love the brand, they really like, they support the brand very much. Basically, it's sort of an investment and a collectible. And there's lots of criticism and skepticism about NFTs. But where the trend is going is that you would have utility attached to your NFT. So for example, last year in Milan Fashion Week, Prada had a really interesting case. They were selling an existing physical garment and an NFT bundled together to go with it, and then the small print at the bottom that whoever buys the NFT, they get a trip to Milan, visit the design studio, they're gonna stay in a really fancy hotel and a Michelin star restaurant dinner. So you understand where I'm getting to, right? You're buying an NFT and you're getting a utility in the real world. Same thing can happen, you're buying an NFT and you're getting a utility in the metaverse. That could be, for example, access to specific experience, access to very interesting new information or whatever you're passionate about. So these, just a second. I think I need technical support. No, it's working again. So yes, we see lots of different examples of experiences happening not only in retail and fashion, but there's also all across industries. BMW has digital twins of their factories. They're practicing the pipeline of how the cars are being assembled. Accenture, us, the company I'm coming from, we have onboarded thousands and thousands of people in virtual reality. So this is an example of kind of like enterprise metaverse. Walmart has been training for years people in virtual reality to simulate and prepare them for Black Friday chaos. Because you know, that can be a very dangerous environment in real life. Island of Tuvalu, that's a really interesting case we worked about. They're digitizing nation to the metaverse. They have a digital twin of their island and then different cultural documentation and aspects. Why? Because you know, when the climate change kind of hits us, and we do get that 1.5 centimeter, if we do 1.5 centimeter rise of the waters in the world, that island is going to be one of the first one, or maybe even the first one, to be covered with water and not exist. They're trying to digitize it and preserve it. So cases for tourism, how you can virtually visit different places, are really interesting too. Medical students are practicing surgery simulations in universities in virtual reality. Imagine you're practicing how to, I don't know, okay, I don't know details about medical things, but think about this. If you would be wearing smart glasses and you would get all of the instructions and kind of the important information that you need right here in your point of view, that would be really, really helpful. Starbucks has an interesting, they're the first kind of Web3 loyalty program in the world that kick off. It's huge. They have all sorts of experiences. You collect NFTs, you visit virtually their coffee farms. Very cool stuff is happening everywhere. So what I'm trying to say is that nothing is going to be left untouched in the future. How the customer interactions and experiences are going to take place. What kind of products you make, and do your physical or whatever products have a digital dimension, or maybe you have entirely new digital products. How payments take place. Employee experience. Supply chain. Enterprise management. So many different aspects are going to be touched by immersive technologies and the metaverse. So when we say what's immersive technologies, there's an umbrella term, extended reality, shortened XR. I'm just going to go through these basics, so I just kind of want to make sure that everybody knows everything, and then we continue talking, right? So we have basically two polarities, physical world and virtual world. On the physical world side, we see a worker that's wearing smart glasses, and what's interesting, his both hands are free because he's doing physical work and he needs them. But he also needs instructions. So those can be sent right into his smart glasses that he's wearing. So that's kind of assisted reality. Then in the middle, we have augmented reality and mixed reality. Augmented reality, a really good example would be Pokemon Go. Everybody knows how that works, right? You have a screen and you have a digital 3D asset that's augmented and you can actually interact with it. And the more you interact with different things, that's kind of like the closer you become to mixed reality. Whereas in virtual reality, you're wearing a VR headset. So if I would be wearing one right now, I'm not able to see the entire physical world around me, right? I'm totally immersed in a synthetic world. And we usually say that immersive technologies will transform the way we experience data and information, places and spaces, as well as how we interact with each other. With data and information, it's really interesting. Think about the use case. You're in a bank, and you look at the papers, at least that's what happens for me. Sometimes, you know, I would be applying for a loan and I'm looking at like, yeah, but if I take like this different interest rate here, how's that gonna affect my my savings, or this kind of like a use case? Or maybe I'm looking for a loan for an apartment, right? So I'm not really good at looking at numbers on the paper flat. But if that information would be visualized to me kind of in a more 3D way, right? So I can see the changes of the sizes of, let's say, this investment opportunity or something like this. That would be much more readable for me as an end user. Then when we say places and spaces, in virtual reality, that's basically the closest thing to teleportation, right? You can either go to another place by still staying here, or you bring another place to you while you're staying here. So let's say we have a case of construction work or architectural project, and you want to showcase what the end result is going to be like, the vision of your architectural edifice. You can basically have an application or experience that, you know, you visit the construction site, or you can teach somebody and bringing the different environment into the classroom. Or let's say I want to go and visit Niagara Falls, and yeah, I don't have the time or money right now to travel. I can do it in virtual reality. I'm not saying that virtual reality should or will replace the real world. What I'm saying is that very interesting things you can bring closer to end user to create amazing experiences. Okay, so now that we have our understanding of the technologies to some shape aligned, I hope everybody's still with me. Nobody's sleeping? No? Let's talk how immersive technologies and metaverse are going to affect our skills, work, and experiences. What skills do we need in the future, and how do we acquire them? Well, if you ask the World Economic Forum, they publish, of course, this is one of the most famous reports. This one was published in 2020, a bit old, but I still wanted to bring this up because the end goal is for 2025. And whenever you're researching these type of future skills forecasts, it's usually about data literacy, problem solving. In one way or another, they resemble very much alike. But what I found interesting in this report is that they're saying that 50% of all of the employees will need reskilling by 2025. We published also very interesting at Accenture report. It's called The Future of Work. So in that report last year, similar things we discovered when we were researching this. So we have interviewed very many companies and employees, and as a result, for example, something like 1 in 3 workers are confident that their skills will be relevant in 5 years, and that's actually really scary, right? Then at the same time, they reported that digital skills, they don't feel like they're, this is an average from companies from different industries in the world. But in general, there is a decline in how workers reported about how much new learning and digital skills they're developing. So they feel like they need more support in that. And then in another report, there's an interesting figure I found. It's a little bit older, but you've seen all of the scary different headlines from the newspapers, right? How AI is going to steal our jobs and we need to invent what to do. There's one example of an estimation that 47% of global jobs, and this is not by like specific industry, but kind of average, will be replaced by AI. It is true, AI is going to change the way we work, right? Are we going to replace very many jobs? It's really hard to estimate. But I think we can summarize that there's need to constantly learn new things and skills. And this is where immersive learning comes in. Immersive learning in virtual reality can be very, very effective. There's a study in Maryland University, and it's quoted often. It's called Learn Faster Spatial Virtual Memory Palace. So they basically had two groups of people. One were studying from 2D computers, the other in virtual reality. And they were asked to remember and memorize things. Well, surprise, those that were studying in virtual reality, they were able to score higher results. They were able to remember things better. And another interesting thing was that they also reported that they enjoyed the experience. Imagine learning, that is fun. But another really big benefit, and this wasn't in the study, but what kind of I often turn to, is that in our world today, I think attention spans are declining, and the amount of distractions we're getting, the Teams messages, the chat, the phone, the internet, we're kind of in a hard position to focus on one thing that you're doing. When you put on VR headset, you kind of forget about everything else and you're so focused in this instance, in the experience. And I think that is actually going to be one of the really big benefits why immersive learning is effective. But yes, there are different kind of research about what is the effectiveness. They say, for example, 40% of young surgeons that studying, they perform better in tests if they had an opportunity to do some simulation and training in virtual reality. And imagine how much opportunities do students in general would have to, go to the surgery hall and practice something, while they can take, for example, in their living room at home, some kind of a simulation and training and kind of immerse into that situation where they need to be to make them prepared. Well, Walmart has been saying that, that the Black Friday simulation, they've been saving a lot of time because this kind of a scalable learning opportunity, accessible 24/7, basically, if you would give your employees VR headsets, is very, very effective. You save time, and you don't need to set up anything specifically. So not only the pace of learning is accelerated, there's better retention, memory retention, so people remember things better, but then there's also other benefits like saving time and costs and so forth. So you can learn individually, you can learn in teams, you can have an instructor-led learning. You can practice different skills, power skill training. You can practice, for example, complex negotiation things. Kind of like a hard negotiation opportunity you can practice in advance. In fact, I could have practiced my public speaking skills in virtual reality, right? What's good about immersive learning is that you're able to mirror real-life situations and create simulations, and that actually is something that helps you learn much better. So we're also getting better focus, better sense of flow. I probably sound very, very biased because I see only like the positive things, right? But it is true, and we are getting in, there's more and more learning experiences and applications coming out. So I wanted to come back to this slide again. So I kind of highlighted from my personal experience working with immersive technologies and being an experienced designer, right? So I'm service designer, I do UX, I do concepting. What kind of skills for me are the most important? And I don't know if somebody would reflect, or maybe resonate with a similar skill. So I thought this creativity, originality initiative was important for me because I have to think, what can I do in terms of value with this specific technology, what kind of applications I can come up with. Of course, I constantly have to learn more about technology, what new things are coming out, so how do I use it? And then reasoning, problem solving, and ideation. Ideating around the use cases, how to apply. And one interesting thing, and I haven't found this anywhere, but what's really important, I think, what we all are going to need in the future is kind of ability to adapt really quickly and change mindsets. And I'm going to give you a practical example. I was recently designing a virtual reality tour, which was like onboarding. And I had to think in a way like an architect and interior designer, because I'm designing a virtual space. I have to think like an art gallery curator or a museum, a person who works in a museum, you know, and creates exhibitions, because I need to design what's a good people flow and how do people look at different installations, and how do people look at different information and read, and how do they walk, and how do you guide them. So this is I'm definitely not an art gallerist, and I'm definitely not an interior designer. But this is something I bumped into while I was designing last project. And I think we're going to see these types of like cross-discipline combinations in addition to the technologies that we're utilizing to that we need to use in our work. So how will we work? Future of work. Let's have a look at some more statistics. Well, the situation today, again, from the Future of Work report, 1 in 6 people at the moment, in general, everywhere in the world on average, feel disconnected. Disconnected from their teams, from the purpose of their organization, their work. So I'm not talking about like not having the internet and not being connected by email. I'm talking about the sense of belonging. Then at the same time, companies, after the pandemic, are kind of promising higher degree of flexibility for our work, for our process of work. Yet, at the same time, they're saying that, 82% are telling workers that they're going to go back to the pre-pandemic travel behavior, so the same amount of traveling that we need. For me personally, I'm thinking about why do you need traveling if we have virtual reality already? But it's kind of a catch-22 situation. We don't have yet very many experiences or training opportunities or collaboration opportunities in VR because there hasn't been many use cases, or there hasn't been many use cases because people haven't utilized that yet. So we're kind of growing and getting there, right? So yes, collaboration in Metaverse. Why would you need to travel somewhere where you can be in a virtual space with somebody else who is thousands of kilometers away? I have already had design thinking, creative workshops in virtual reality, and I'm telling you, that's actually much more interesting and much more intuitive than you would have design thinking workshop on a 2D screen on the internet, because you have a room, you can walk around, you can draw on the walls, you can build together, and you don't have to sit all the time. So it's totally different kind of attention that users or participants are putting into. So what I'm trying to say is that it is possible to have a workshop in virtual reality, and chances are, if it's facilitated well, it's going to be actually a much more engaging experience than having a 3-hour workshop where you're just staring at a 2D screen. So you can have learning sessions, workshops, different regular meetings for decision making, right? If you smartly have integrations of different data points, you can even bring out all of, like, let's say we have a leadership meeting, right? So we would have an integration of all of the relevant things, KPIs, maybe whatever they are, they're following, or data that they're usually checking in their regular meetings, kind of very nicely already augmented on all of the walls. So this is really important. I think in future we're going to have we don't have to look at the technology as standalone. So these are immersive technologies, this is AI, but it's the combination of these technologies, how you utilize them together will bring the most value. Collaboration in Metaverse also is really good for, let's say, keynotes, town halls, and conferences. Like I told you in the beginning, what if we could meet in virtual reality and I would take you to all the different places and show you different demos. You're going to have a keynote speaker, basically, you know, it can be anybody. Think about the most prominent person you would like, the most inspiring person you would like to hear in the world. And now imagine the opportunity of, in a way, meeting them from your living room, from your home. And then lots of different social events and experiences and networking, because that's one way to communicate and engage with people. we at Accenture, like I mentioned earlier, we onboarded around 100, what was it, 50,000 that I heard. Now apparently there's a larger amount of new joiners. So that's a really, really high number. We have this kind of one park where we would invite our new joiners to a guided tour to learn about our organization, about our values, our practices, what it's like to work at Accenture, where they can meet other new joiners and connect. And this has proven to be a really, really kind of a successful experience for us. We have purchased 60,000 VR headsets, right? And we distributed them in different countries. But we also have, you can see that this experience is very much like artistic looking or cartoon looking like, but we also do have digital twins of our real innovation hubs that we can visit or we can have meetings in. What's really cool coming soon, Microsoft Mesh is going to be launched, coming to teams near you. Does anybody already have Avatar in their teams? No? Not yet? Okay, the phenomenon of Zoom fatigue, right? We have that word already in our vocabularies. That means basically you're sitting 8 or 9 hours in meetings every day, and you're just kind of, you feel that you don't want to be impolite, that you don't want to turn on your camera, but you're kind of tired and you don't want to turn on your camera. Well, there's going to be a solution for that. You can participate as an avatar, and cameras can read your face expressions, so your avatar is going to be talking when you're talking. It's going to read your expressions. It's going to be smiling when you're smiling, right? The same thing we have with VR headsets. For example, in MetaQuest Pro, there's already 2 cameras that are pointed inwards to your face. So when I would be talking and smiling in virtual reality, my avatar would transmit the same emotions. So there's lots of work being done into how can we have our presence as avatar, but in a humane and in a very human-like way, mimicking us in real world. It is estimated at ABI research that immersive collaboration market could become actually really, 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 really big. 22 million by 2030. That means that less of Zoom meetings, less of team meetings, hopefully more interactions, more learning and collaboration in the metaverse. We'll see how that is going to turn out. But this is, so far, as I showed you earlier, very promising feedback has been provided. Companies are going to be faced in the future of, how do they provide this atmosphere of employees being really, really productive all the time, and how working experience can be improved. Productivity anywhere. And we as employees want to be productive. So to answer that question I posed earlier, right? Is AI going to steal all our jobs? Hopefully not. But this particular model, I really much like how it's explained. This is a book by our CTO, Paul Doherty. He wrote it a few years ago. It's called Human Plus Machine. And he introduces in that book, how should we kind of, address AI. There are going to be jobs that we as humans are really good at. We are better at judging, understanding the context, leading. And then there are things like machines are really good at. I mean, let's be honest, none of us in this room would be really, really good to studying in approximately 1 minute or 1 second of time, tens of thousands of rows of Excel and come up with, patterns and analyze big chunks of data. We're not designed as humans to do that. So that leaves the missing middle. Human and machine interaction. It's where humans complement machines, these types of tasks, and then humans complement machines, and then machines complement humans and give them superpowers. So we still need to train algorithms, right? We still need to have this kind of readability and understandability of the data whenever we're working with AI. But then AI can give us superpowers to amplify everything what we do at work. So for example, another Microsoft example. A while ago, a few days ago, have everybody heard about Copilot? Yes? Everybody's talking about ChatGPT. This is kind of like basically taking that AI into all of our Microsoft 365 applications where you can just create really, really quickly reports. You can ask, for example, your assistant chatbot, hey, I don't remember, there was this meeting 3 weeks ago, what did we talk about? What were key points? Was I supposed to create a proposal? And chatbot can help you create that proposal really, really quickly, right? Create presentations. This is about how you really utilize AI to make yourself more productive. Another really cool example I wanted to talk about. Everybody's talking about generative AI. I'm an illustrator. It would take me about 2 hours to do a portrait based on a photo, right? That's the first one over there. Then a while ago, we had a really interesting project, $1 billion collection. I hope everybody heard about that one for H&M Foundation. We had a synthetic being with digital garments, and we talked about sustainability. Really exciting project, check out later. But we had in that project a synthetic being, right? So 3D avatar, human. This person doesn't exist. We generated and created it from scratch. One of our teams that was working on it. It's really hard to, for example, create hair. And it's really hard to create synthetic humans. That was until in 2021, Unreal Engine announced their tool, MetaHuman. And it's basically the kind of online configurator where you can literally, if the previous one was weeks, this one is kind of like in days, hours, you can generate humans for your whatever marketing campaign or experience that don't exist, but it's a really, really useful tool. And now we have all tools like Stable Diffusion and Midjourney. It took less than a minute, maybe a little bit more, to create that artificial being. And you can see my prompt here. It's really, really easy. Imagine prompt, digital fashion, neon yellow spacesuit and futuristic. And 1 minute, if you practice well with prompts or you perfect your algorithms, you have probably seen lots of different AI-generated art. And we're going to get these types of tools to more and more. So for example, now if it takes us weeks to create a virtual environment or digital twin, imagine the kind of superpower we have where we have AI-generated, let's say, sketch to 3D or voice to 3D, generated environments that we can easily produce, and then we focus on real work to create the storytelling there. To how do we create value? What kind of stories we want to tell with the experiences? So my kind of answer is that no, creative people should not be afraid of AI, but kind of take the best advantage and do work much faster, much more impressively. So yes, that means that we will have more time to create better experiences for work. And this concept of being omni-connected to the company or company values, to organization, that kind of scored in our future work report that being omni-connected accounts for 59% of someone's intention to stay at the company. We always talk about, from perspective us as employees, how do I find work or what am I interested into? Turn it around. Employers also need to have you interested at work, provide the best of your work, right? And be interested in kind of having this connection for you to flourish and rise and enrich your potential. So this is about creating really interesting work experiences. Yes, so that means that leaders must reimagine the future of work experience. And basically, so far, the figures looked very, very depressing when I checked out the report. 30% of workers say that they, only 30% of workers see a link, that they understand kind of like company's broader purpose. 26% have been less than 3 years working at the company, meaning that they haven't been for long. Are they planning to stay for a long time? We don't know. But then 26% of CEOs are kind of only understanding that, they should be working on improving the work experiences. So key takeaways. I'm already seeing that I don't have much time left. Key takeaways. I hope you have an understanding what Metaverse is and what it isn't. No, it's not virtual reality. it's an evolution of internet, right? It's evolution that's going to happen gradually. We're not just going to, wake up tomorrow and everybody's going to be using VR headsets. Important key takeaway is that we have to find the right use cases where immersive technology is going to help us. Nobody's going to be sitting 8 hours at work wearing a VR headset. But if you have this design workshop or you need to visit another location, what's the closest thing to teleportation? Of course, it's going to be VR. There will be very different points of how you can access the metaverse. That's a good learning. Technology mix is going to be our superpowers. When we connect immersive technologies, AI, cloud computing, edge computing, that's going to be very, very, very interesting. And that's one of kind of like my key takeaways, that's going to be one of the important things we need to master. How do we combine these technologies to give us the best of value? Immersive collaboration and learning are really effective. Memory retention, attention, we're closing the physical gap. Yeah, I think this is about it. I hope I get to see you in the metaverse. Thank you. And one last thing. Reach out to me in LinkedIn if you want to connect, if you want to talk about the metaverse, just find me. I'm there. And if you want to read more, I cannot recommend more than enough. Matthew Ball, that's a classic about the metaverse, really good book. This book in the middle was written actually by one of my colleagues, and it has contributions from our amazing, talented people. This is like a business guide. And not to leave this all-male panel, Katie Heckel is a female that's working in Metaverse. Her nickname is the godmother of the Metaverse. She has written also a really good book. So yeah, save this, take a picture, and read more. Thank you. Bye.